wonderful, sad verse which originated in the jungles of Burma and is written on the memorials at Kohima and Imphala on the Indian-Burma border. And I quote, "When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today." This verse could apply to any theatre of the war in World War II. And Hurlstone, you have a lot to be proud of, and we ex-servicemen thank you very much. And before I go, I'm going to tell you a yarn, which for the young'uns up there, concerning Sir William Key and myself. We shared the same dormitory, I think about 1937, 1938 was it, Bill? Probably. Yeah. We had a teacher, a good maths teacher he was too, and his name was, I won't say his name, but I'll tell you his nickname. His nickname was Fireworks Flynn. Yeah? Any of you old blokes might remember Fireworks. Fireworks actually was a comic strip actor, but our Fireworks, he had the appearance of John Cleese, except he had 2 teeth missing. He used to chain smoke, and he used to like a bit of tiddly after night, after tea time. And at lights out, when you pay attention, you students, at lights out, there was no talking after lights out. And Fireworks used to love to grab us, 4th years I think we were in, Bill. So we said, this is no good. He'd sneak along after the lights had gone out and catch us out talking, and he'd gate us. As a matter of fact, a lot of us would still be here if we did all the gating. and we decided one night we'd fix him, so we put sugar on the veranda. You know, just up a bit, didn't we, Bill? And the results were like walking on a cat's tail in the dark. Fireworks was in the middle of the dormitory with a light on and snorting and glaring at us. We were all kidding to be asleep. And the odour from that chain smoking and grog, when you got about 6 inches to see if you open one eye and you're gone, you're gated for a month, for a year. Anyhow, poor old Works, he'd sit down there and he'd forgive us in the finish, and he'd talk to us, talk all sorts of yarns, and then all of a sudden he'd wake up the fact it was about 10:30. "Get to sleep, you mob," he'd say, and down he'd stalk. I would say, "What about the gating, sir?" He said, "I'll let you off this time, but look out next time." And he never did. Anyhow, thank you very much for the old boys. Thank you, boys and girls, for all your attention this morning. And with that, I will close.
Member of Committee, Dean Nicholson, would like to speak on behalf of the present day students.
To those here for the first time, to those here for the first time in a long time, and to those here for some time to come, welcome to Hurlstone. When asked to speak today on behalf of the present generation of Hurlstone students, I was overwhelmed with pride. After some days, however, I began to realise how daunting the task really was. How could I possibly frame the thoughts and feelings of an entire generation with regard to the concept of World War? I began thinking about what my mates would do in the event of a World War, whether their priorities and dreams would change, like many of yours did, from personal fulfilment to defence of our nation. I see each of my mates eager to finish school and begin the rest of their lives, and I realise how lucky we are in not having to sacrifice our plans, our ambitions, and perhaps our lives for the security of our country. We are more concerned about HSCs and TERs than invasion. The notion that this time next year, people who I've grown up with would be lying face down in a ditch on the other side of the world seems impossible. A war of that nature today seems impossible. There are those in the community who see my generation as being lazy and spoiled. Many believe we need some form of adversity to temper our selfishness and stem our decadence. Our inability to directly relate to war is seen by some as our major downfall. To those I say not all of us are like that. In fact, at Hurlstone, very few. We have at present a number of wars in which we are all involved in to some extent. We battle against ignorance, racism and sexism. We fight against suicide and divorce. For the first time, my generation worldwide will be fighting against the threat of total environmental destruction. Our wars may be of a different nature, but they are wars nonetheless. As a result of the sacrifices made by Australians throughout our history, my generation enjoys a high standard of living and a relative degree of security. It is because of this security that many people from other nations wish to live and work in Australia. There is no longer an accurate, all-encompassing definition or mould in which an Australia either fits or doesn't. Our acceptance of the existence of Aboriginal culture, our respect of customs from all over the world, and our tolerance of that which differs has helped broaden my generation's view of our world, our country and ourselves. There are heated debates occurring around the country over whether Australia should become a republic, thus removing the Queen as our head of state, and thus changing our flag. Regardless of the outcome, we realise that without such sacrifices as the ones that we are here today to honour, such debates regarding the future of Australia might not have been possible. As Australia continually changes, develops and redefines, so too does Hurlstone. Such additions of new buildings, railway lines and most significantly females have changed both the culture and appearance of the school forever. Rather than threatening the traditions of old, such moves have enhanced Hurlstone's name and enabled it to go from strength to strength. One aspect of students who attend Hurlstone that has not yet changed and never will is the respect and pride they have for things that matter and their dedication in preserving these things. Central to the preservation of our traditions are such events as the one we have gathered for today. The replanting of fallen trees in the Memorial Forest, the unveiling of the World War II Honour Roll, and the coming together of generations of Hurlstonians to acknowledge the efforts of their fellow students have contributed to the overall preservation and reinforcement of the values we hold dear. The current students of Hurlstone, as all young Australians today, are indebted to the veterans of the Second World War. As such, it is incumbent upon me to thank in person those who are here today, and in prayer those who are not. On behalf of all Hurlstonians and my peers of today's generation, thank you.
Our Deputy Principal will now move a vote of thanks.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests and members of the Hurlstone community, there would not be one of us here today who was not touched by the ceremonies that were held, the memories that were shared, and the feelings that were brought out into the open. None of that would have been possible without the honour of our presence of Sir William Keys, who shared with us his thoughts, his experiences. We thank too Archdeacon Williams for coming to be with us today. Of course, today would not have been possible without Alan McClellan and his committee, who worked with Dennis Simon, the P&C President, Michael Kidd, our Principal, other members of the committee, Rick Sculthorpe, Margaret Demphew, Peter Brown, Giles Cornelia and Ben Nicholson, all worked tirelessly to ensure today would be the success it certainly has been. And they were no doubt helped by many who worked in the background. Lachlan Simon, also a member of the committee, deserves special mention for the booklet that was presented today. Thank you to the musicians. Their part in most Hurlstone activities is well known and certainly appreciated. Thank you too to you, the wider Hurlstone community, for supporting this day. But most importantly, thank you, ex-servicemen and your families. Thank you for your courage, your endurance, the sacrifices you did have to put up with. As a result of them, we thank you for the peace and the freedom we now enjoy. I'd now like to ask Mrs. Robin Simon to come forward to make the presentation.
So we would like to just on behalf of our school and say thank you very much for your attendance here today and your many memories that you expressed to your children.
Just to say thank you, and this will be, whatever it is, will be a wonderful reminder of one of the very special days of my life. Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry, this is not on the program, but Giles Cornelia would now like to have a few words.
Thank you, Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Giles Cornelia. I'm a Year 12 student at Hurlstone, and I'm speaking today to say thank you, on behalf of the school and all those connected with it, to two very fine members of the Hurlstone community. Alan McClellan and Lachlan Simon are both old boys of Hurlstone Agricultural High School. Although Mr. McClellan left school 51 years ago, and I, in my dim and distant memories of 1990, can remember Mr. Simon as a student, they are two men remarkably alike in terms of their absolute and selfless commitment to their school. Mr. Alan McClellan has for the past 5 years voluntarily prepared Hurlstone's annual Pro Patria Profiles, a booklet which documents the achievements and lives of some of the school's most prominent ex-students. These booklets, which serve as an inspiration to current students, are testimony to Mr. McClellan's dedication to the school. Of great importance to the activities of today, Alan McClellan is the chairman of the Hurlstone Remembers Committee. Mr. McClellan has been, for the past 18 months, more than any other individual, the spur that has galvanised others and made possible the Second World War Honour Roll Board. Mr. Alan McClellan has worked tirelessly to coordinate the committee throughout, shouldering the lion's share of the organising and preparation necessary to make this unveiling day a success. From 1990 onwards, Lachlan Simon has continued to support and involve himself within Hurlstone's cadet unit, as well as willingly assisting students and staff of his old school with media studies. For the past 18 months, Mr. Simon has been a driving force within the Hurlstone Remembers Committee. Of most worthy mention is his preparation of the Hurlstone Remembers book, an impressive 80-page publication, which has, as a memento of today, will certainly become a collector's item. The book's layout and content are of the highest quality, something Mr. Simon's expertise and unflagging exertion have made possible. Both Mr. Alan McClellan and Mr. Lachlan Simon have earned the admiration of Hurlstone with their vision, planning skills, attention to detail, tremendous capacity for work, and genuine loyalty to and love of their former school. To both of you, I must say well done, and thank you for a magnificent and long-lasting effort. The school is deeply indebted to both Mr. McClellan and Mr. Simon, and in appreciation of their tireless efforts, has nominated these two vital members of the Hurlstone family for Assistant Director General's Awards for school service. In addition to these nominations, the school is bestowing the highest award it can on these two stalwarts, the school's Medallion of Honour for school service. If I could now call upon both these distinguished gentlemen to come forward and upon the principal, Mr. Kidd, to present the medallions, and finally upon Mrs. Anne McLeod to present to Mr. McCollum a silver tray and wine goblets presented in gratitude by the veterans returning today. Thank you.
You better put that thing down, Lachlan, or because I'll respond on part of you and say, God, aren't we great? Proceeding with our program, we will now join in singing the Royal Anthem. But we do have also with us, and this has come through the research which has come forward from our publicity of this feature, people that are important as well. We have Mr. Winston Jones, a young man really by comparison, whose father attended this school, went to Armidale Teachers College, joined the Armed Forces and was killed in action. Now Winston Jr. never knew his father. He's come today with the view of trying to pay some of his father's classmates. Moving along down the scale, we also have Miss Elsie Campbell, 85 years of age, a former teacher of the Department of Education, who comes today as the last member of her Campbell family, and she's representing her brother who was killed in action. Mention has been made of Mr. Roy Gribble, 91 years of age. We also have two mothers, and geez, you know, mothers mean a lot to whether it be boy or girl. But in this instance, I'd like to tell you that Mrs. Warnock is with us. Mrs. Warnock's son was killed in action. Mrs. Warnock is 95. But to top that, we have a Mrs. McKee, whose son has died since the war, and she is nearly 101.